Hello everybody, welcome back to Garden Obsessed. My name is Carla. This is week 4 of the Every Bit Counts challenge. I almost said week 3, but no, it is not. It is in fact week 4. We are starting off this week getting caught up on some of the things I didn't get done last week. First up is we are getting some of the ripe tomatoes kind of processed. All I'm doing is taking the seeds out of some plum tomatoes before I freeze them. These will be used later for sauce and things like that. But we have a fresh influx of tomatoes. We went to the community garden last night and these were all the blushers. So I think with this fresh influx, these will all start to ripen this week. And I don't have the freezer space for all of these tomatoes. So I think what we will start doing is making some of our salsa for the year. I like to use the tomatoes fresh for that. The recipe that I use has apples in it, so I'll have to get some apples. I'm not sure when we'll do that this week, but it will probably be this week. We'll get some apples and we'll get started on the salsa. But first, I'm starting with some easy wins. Just gotta get these guys in the freezer. While I'm here in the kitchen, I wanted to tell you guys about a new use I found for zucchini. I know I'm not alone in drowning in zucchini this time of year. We're all looking for things to do with our zucchinis, and there's only so much zucchini bread a girl can make, right? So I made an Italian zucchini scarpaccia. I think that's how you say it. If I am mispronouncing it, I apologize. This is what a slice of it looks like. And while I'd certainly much rather eat a piece of pizza, this is not bad. I made it the other day. It's been in the fridge. We've been picking away at it. I'm finding it to be a great snack, especially when I'm doing stuff like this in the kitchen and I don't really want to stop to make a meal. Kind of good. And really all you need is zucchini. There's some onion, rosemary, flour, and cornmeal. I think that was everything that was in it. I just Googled a recipe and it turned out good. Just FYI. Another 1.5 pounds of blackberries headed for the freezer. So I had to chop back my basil, and I had enough for what I thought would be a nice little batch of basil pesto. So I make it the same way that I make the garlic scape pesto. I'm gonna add a couple cloves of garlic. This is last year, so I cut it in half and removed the growth point for better flavor. Some salt and pepper, olive oil, a little bit of lemon juice, some nuts. We're using walnuts instead of pine nuts, and some Parmesan cheese. All right, we got 3 little containers of basil pesto. I licked the spoon. It is yummy. For reference, this is the recipe that I am kind of guided by. And you can see my little note there that I've also used cashews in the past instead of pine nuts. But for the most part, I just eyeball it. I'm gonna make some more jalapeno poppers. So I've just taken my cream cheese out of the fridge. It's gotta warm up for a while. And we're gonna get some more cherry tomatoes and ground cherries in the freezer too. Another tray of peppers going into the freezer. Just got back from the community garden and picked all these tomatoes. This is quite a large box. And they're pretty deep. I weighed them. It was about, let me see, what was it? Just under 10 kilograms. So we got to do something with tomatoes here soon. Okay, I was shopping in town and saw these mushrooms. They were discounted 50% off. They are not slimy or anything. They're kind of dry, but they're still all right. I'm gonna get these chopped up and get them in the dehydrator. This was, I think this came, it was less than $2, like $1.80 something, I think is what these 2 bags came to. Guys, we have been dehydrating up a storm over the last couple days. I had an opportunity at the community garden to pick some herbs. They had quite a few there that they wanted people to pick. So I was able to get another handful of basil to make another batch of basil pesto. I also grabbed a couple stems of thyme and rosemary, oregano, and a little bit more parsley. So we've got that all dehydrated and in jars now. I've had a friend staying with me the last couple days, so I, was kind of distracted with other things. I didn't get a whole lot done, but we did get those things dehydrated. And today we're gonna try to make up some ground. So I was watching Hickory Croft Farms videos this week, and they made a red curry paste. We're not growing lemongrass this year. It's not something I've ever found much of a use for. However, if this is delicious, which I think it will be because we do love curries, we're probably going to be planting some of that next year. So today I looked online for the recipe that she used, and I think it was Minimalist Baker. And in addition to the red curry paste, she also has a green curry paste. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. They are super similar ingredients other than instead of red peppers and red dried chilies, you're using like green peppers and green chilies. So we're going to use some jalapenos for that. And everything else is pretty much the same. So I have all the ingredients for that, and we're going to get both of those made. I think we'll start, I don't know which color we'll start with. It'll be a surprise for both of us. Okay, so I've got all our spices measured out, and like I said, the recipes are very similar, so it's the same amounts that I just measured out in a bowl at the same time. A lot of these things you can use fresh or whole seeds, but I just have powdered versions and dried versions of everything. So this is a half a teaspoon of coriander, 1 teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of pepper, 1 to 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. I used 1.5, and 1 teaspoon of turmeric. There's also a half a teaspoon of sea salt in there. So I'm gonna start getting the fresh ingredients chopped up, and then we'll meet back here. Okay, so I've got like my red curry paste ready to go in my little processor here, and I've got all the fresh ingredients chopped up for the green version. So in here I have a red bell pepper, green bell pepper over here, we've got red chilies in here, I've got jalapenos over here, lemongrass in both, and the recipe calls for 6 green onions, but these were quite large, so I just chopped up what I felt was an appropriate amount. In addition to that, we also have 3 cloves of garlic. I've got 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of lime juice, 2 to 3 tablespoons of avocado oil, and a tablespoon of maple syrup. We're gonna get this one going. Okay guys, this is what it's looking like. In the food processor, it was looking a little runny. I think it wasn't getting the chunks as fine as the blender did, but I do think I'm gonna cut back for the green version. I'm not gonna put 3 tablespoons of lemon juice and lime juice in it. I'm gonna cut them back to 2, I think. That will be plenty, and it'll be a little more paste-like. But I did give it a little taste test. Holy frig, it's hot, it's delicious. Yeah, on to the green one. All right, here's the green. Not quite as spicy as the red, but equally delicious. All right, I've been saying it all week, but today we're finally dealing with tomatoes. So I've got the ripe ones here in the sink. Gonna give those a wash, and I'll show you what else we have. I've kind of sorted everything that was in the box. These are the almost ripe, like they need another day or two, and then they'll be ripe and ready to process. And then these are the greener ones, so those will be slow, but I wanted these kind of laid out so I can see them as they ripen. I can add them to this pile. But this is for another day. We'll deal with what's in the sink first. Okay, I've got these beauties set aside. They're all washed and dried, and we will make salsa out of these guys later today. But first I'm gonna deal with mostly the smaller ones left in the sink, and we're gonna freeze those for sauce later. Same thing I've been doing. I'll dry them off, cut them in half, take the seeds out, and lay them out on a cookie sheet to go in the freezer. All right, so we're getting going on the salsa. This is absolutely hands down our favorite salsa. It's a little different. It has apples in it, which I feel like cuts back on the amount of sugar that gets added. There is some sugar, but it's a sweet salsa. A sweet heat salsa is what I would call it. We have been making this for about 20 years now. I don't know the source of the recipe, so I don't know if it is a tested recipe or not. However, it is vinegar based, and I feel okay. This is one of the very few untested recipes you'll ever see me make. I tend to stick to the, having a background in science, I do like to stick to the tested recipes. I do make an exception for this salsa. I'm making a double batch today, and I do tweak it a little bit. So I'll go ahead and tell you the original recipe. It uses 8 large tomatoes. When I have some of these plum tomatoes are a little small, so I guesstimate about how many tomatoes I would need to make up those 8 large tomatoes. It calls for 6 apples, which I generally use, medium-sized apples. It also calls for 8 onions. I never add that much. I have large onions here today, so I'm gonna add 2 for a double batch. I would add 1 large onion or maybe 2 mediums for a single batch, and that's plenty for me. I'm not like a huge onion lover. It calls for 2 green peppers. I just had a random assortment of peppers here at home today, so I'm throwing in, they're not, I have 1 bell pepper here. The other peppers are sweet peppers. They're either Jimmy Nardello or the Tolly sweet frying pepper. I also have some poblano peppers here. They're on the smaller side, some of them. So I'm just gonna add all of those peppers in, and that's gonna be my pepper component today. The recipe calls for 6 cloves of garlic, and it calls for 1 jalapeno. I always add more than 1 jalapeno. I think I had 4 here today, and I'm gonna add those all in for the double batch. The only other thing that we add at this point is 2.5 cups of vinegar. And the 2.5 cups of vinegar, which I'm doubling here today, is one of the reasons I feel fairly safe with this recipe. It's very, very acidic with the tomatoes, the apples, and the vinegar. I'm comfortable canning this and using myself, but by all means, use your own discretion. I would never encourage anyone to use an untested recipe. I know one of my friends, she cans it as well, but in a pinch, if she doesn't feel like canning, she has frozen it in the past, and it seems to work out okay frozen as a frozen recipe as well. This is hands down Jared's favorite thing that we can or produce that comes out of the garden every year. And he's usually pretty helpful when it comes to salsa time, because he knows it's very time consuming prepping all these vegetables for the salsa. And he knows that if he helps, there's a better chance there are more cans of it on the shelf for the year. One of his favorite things to do with this, we call it Mexican eggs. So he'll add, when he's making scrambled eggs, he'll add a few tablespoons of the salsa and stir it all together, and it is quite delicious. I was flying solo today, so next time for sure, I'm definitely going to recruit him. He's usually the apple chopper, and I very much appreciate his help. Here I'm just going ahead and I'm going to add my 5 cups of vinegar to the pot now because I'm about to do the apples, and I like to only do a couple of apples at a time and get them added in the vinegar to keep them from turning brown. There's nothing worse than brown apples. Like I said, this is usually Jared's job, so I'm really missing him, but Lola is loving it. She loves the apple peels, so every once in a while you can see me giving her some of the curls of the peel as I process these apples. She's my little buddy, my little sidekick. Okay, the next step in this process is to bring this to a boil, and we are going to simmer it for about an hour and a half. Up to 2 hours. You just want it to kind of cook down, soften, and thicken a little bit before we add all the rest of the ingredients. So once you've simmered your salsa for that 1.5 to 2 hours, you are going to add a cup of sugar, a tablespoon of coarse salt, half a teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of dry mustard, 2 teaspoons of cayenne, and 2 small cans of tomato paste. I don't always add all of that tomato paste. Sometimes I just add the 1 can. As I did here today, I added 2 for a double batch. You're going to just cook that for a couple minutes, then you're going to bottle it, and I can it for 15 minutes for my elevation. I'm at sea level. So yeah, and this is how it turned out. We ended up with 7 pints, so we will definitely be doing another double batch. Okay, friends, this is what we got done. Week 4, Every Bit Counts challenge. I had a guest for 3 nights this week, which kind of slows me down. You know, I like to spend time with our company rather than, you know, doing these kinds of things. So I fit in little activities where I could. So let me show you what we were able to get put up this week. So continued with the dehydrator. We got you know, a whole pint of mushrooms for our cupboards. We stocked up on more herbs. I dried some oregano, some rosemary. We started another jar of parsley, excuse me. Some sage and some summer savory. This was from the community garden. I didn't grow this year, and honestly, this will be plenty. I'll just use it for Thanksgiving turkey. We got 7 little containers of basil pesto. Basil is my preferred pesto. Jarrett really likes the garlic scape, but I think I prefer the basil. They're both delicious. We got 7 pints of salsa canned. We've got 7 little servings of green Thai curry paste, 6 servings of red Thai curry paste, and a bunch of frozen stuff for the freezer. We got 3 more bags of a double serving of jalapeno poppers. Jarrett will love that. We continued to pick blackberries, but I finally gave up. So I think this week we got, there's more in the basement. I think there's 6 or 7 of these down there now. And this is what I had left upstairs. I know we picked more than that this week, but I don't remember how much. We also froze a whole bunch of peppers for our freezer. As they started to turn red, I started freezing them and putting them in these bags. We also started freezing some of our ground cherries. I want to try to make jam or scones or something with them this year. Usually they just get eaten right off of the plant, but they started super early this year, a month before we usually get any. And I think we're gonna have a lot this year. So I thought it might be fun to experiment with that. I've got a couple bags of cherry tomatoes in the freezer now too. As they ripen, I just throw them on a tray and put them in here, the ones that don't get eaten. And we've got, this bag is almost full of sliced and prepped tomatoes to make sauce later, and there's a full one downstairs in the deep freeze. So all in all, I think we did pretty good, especially where we got a little bit derailed with company, but you know, that's life. That's what happens. There's another half a week left. I hope you come back. There's definitely some things I want to get done. We are swimming in tomatoes. Everything, like usually, I think our tomatoes are a month early than they usually are. And thank God they were productive because the plants, you know, we got blight this year like I've never seen. So I think the glut of tomatoes is happening now, and I think it's going to start petering out pretty quickly. A lot of the later tomatoes are small and they're starting to like ripen early, like before they're sized up. So we definitely still have lots of tomatoes though. So, you know, I'm thankful for the space and the plants that we had, and we'll have some more tomato projects. I definitely want to get a soup done this week for the freezer. Jared's been taking a lot of soups for lunch and stuff. Our weather is starting to cool off. It's starting to feel like soup season. Actually, it got down to 6 degrees Celsius last night, which is bananas. It's way too early for that. It's still August. So I'm starting to get scared for frost. We should comfortably have another month before we have a frost. The weather is supposed to warm up again, but those few cool nights, I'm a little on edge. So yeah, I got to get this stuff back in the freezer. I thank you for stopping by. I hope you come back. I really enjoyed this challenge. I really love it when you guys comment and like and subscribe and share with all your friends. And we've got a new challenge coming up, so stay tuned for that one. And lots of dahlia content coming. They're starting to hit their stride. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Guys, I've just got back from the community garden. We got some stuff. Holy moly. Look at this bell pepper. It's friggin' huge. And I've never grown celery that looked so good as this celery. It's looking bomb. Got a few more broccoli sprouts too, a few jalapenos, and the rest is tomatoes. So, there's half a week left of the Every Bit Counts challenge. So I hope you will come back for that last little bit. We'll definitely probably be dealing with some of this. And yeah, it's been fun.